excited to be able to chat with you and to share some tips and tricks on what travel looks like on your gap year. Again, let me know in the chat, if you could travel anywhere, where would you head to? Let's pretend money is not an issue, and let's pretend COVID is not an issue. So pop in the chat, where would be one of your dream destinations? I think right now for me, if that was the case, I think Croatia would be my my next on my wish list. I think I would love a nice relaxing vacation. I've done a lot of crazy trips, but a nice Croatian relaxation villa sounds good right about now. So we've got Italy, we've got the Great Barrier Reef. Sharon, are you a scuba diver? I think it's such a beautiful place to go. And I'm going to let you know, a little secret here. We are at CanGap planning a trip for gappers to head up to the Yukon. So if you've ever wanted to have a really amazing adventure within Canada, but never had the opportunity, in the spring of 2023, don't tell anyone, we haven't made it public yet, but we are heading up to the Yukon as a group of gappers. So if you've ever wanted to go on an adventure, wanted to meet up with some other gappers face to face, we are going to be heading up in the spring of 2023. So it's going to be super fun. We're going to do some sustainability work. We're going to be looking at, we're going to be meeting with a lot of Indigenous folks up there, and having some really, really great adventures. So Sharon wants to go to the Yukon. Maybe you can come join us. And so Sarah wants to head to the Great Barrier Reef. Awesome. We have a lot of gappers that get their scuba certifications on their gap year, which is really, really cool. You can do it in a pool in your local community and then take that certification somewhere else, or you can get that certification on the ground in Australia, or in Thailand, or wherever you happen to be. So lots of opportunities to be able to do really cool things like that, and learn how to do some really cool things that will stick with you for life. Very, very cool. Thanks for sharing, guys. That's awesome. All right. So when it comes to travel, there's lots of things to consider. So I can take many, many angles when it comes to this talk. But as I said before, this is your opportunity to get your questions answered. So let me know in the chat, what do you want to know about travel? That could be anything regarding budgeting. That could be regarding safety. That could be regarding COVID. Really, there is no shortage of things that we can talk about. So what are the things that are of interest to you? All right. So Sharon and Sarah are talking about cost. Excellent. Actually, let me see if I can pull up this piece right here. So speaking of cost, Air Canada just came out with this right now. So if you are considering traveling on your gap year within Canada, this is a phenomenal deal. So they're actually giving out, or you can purchase travel vouchers that would allow you to travel anytime in the next 12 months with Air Canada to anywhere in Canada. And so the vouchers are way cheaper. It will lock in that price and you can go anywhere in Canada with that. So you can definitely check that out. Let's talk about cost. We're going to do a whole session on budgeting, which is, yeah, I know, it's a super good deal. Everybody should go check that out. I am going to buy one for work and I am going to buy one for my family too. Very, very well worth it. Especially with gas prices going up. I'm foreseeing lots of fuel surcharges in the future. So locking in at this price is probably a very wise move, as gas is scheduled to go way up in cost. All right. So when it comes to cost, we're going to do the whole section on budgeting. No, we're not. We don't have a budgeting session this time. Okay. When it comes to planning your travel, when it comes to the cost of it, we need to start out with a budget. What is that number that you have? And then how do we make that possible? So there's a couple things to consider when it comes to that. One of the most expensive pieces is going to be the flights. So the farther you go, usually, knock on wood, like don't quote me on this, but usually the farther you go, the more expensive the flights are going to be. So just factor that into what you're doing. And your flights are a fixed cost. Whether you go for one day or a whole year, the flight cost is going to be the same. They don't care how long you've been in country. Where the variable cost will come is in the day-to-day accommodations and food and activities. So that's where you have them a lot of flex. So if you have a destination that you are definitely set on, then a way you can manage the cost is the length of the travel. So instead of going for a whole year, maybe you want to go for 3 months or 3 weeks or a week. And that's one way that you can bring it within the realm of possible. The other thing to think about when you're thinking about cost is figuring out how you can earn money on your gap year to pay for that experience. So often what will happen is travel will happen in the springtime. So that you have the time to work in order to earn money throughout the rest of your year. So you have that travel experience. So that can be a really wise way to make it work. That being said, you still need to buy your plane ticket a little bit early. You can't save up for your money until June and then June 1st buy a ticket. You can, but it can be more expensive that way. So that's something to consider, is thinking about when in the year are you going to travel and how are you going to fit in some of that earning potential before then. You can also change the cost of your travel depending on the activity that you want to do. So there is the option to go and be a tourist. This is one way to see the world, is to go and to stay in hotels and hostels, get around, see things, experience the culture from a tourist perspective. There are other ways that you can reduce the cost as well. So maybe you want to go and live in another country for a while and do the IEC visa thing and get a job there. That's one way where you can actually earn money while you are in another country. If you want to reduce the cost for the on the ground components, you could do something called Workaway. And Almira will take a look and she'll find the link for Workaway. This is an organization that people can post projects on. Maybe they have a barn that needs painting, or maybe they're repaving their driveway with oh my goodness, what are they called? I can say cobblestones, but that's not what I mean. Interlocking. And you can actually exchange your labor for room and board in their house. So it's a nice energy exchange where you get to be in the country and have the opportunity to do some travel there as well. So there's lots of things that you can do that, or you can go and be an au pair and live with a family in another country and earn money while you are doing that, and still have your evenings and weekends free to go and do some sightseeing on your own. So when it comes to cost, I think those are probably some of the best things to be thinking about when we're thinking about travel. So great questions, Sharon and Sarah. Thank you for that. Let's talk a little bit about safety. Because I think that's really, really important when we are looking at travel, whether that is travel down the road or travel to another country or another province. We always need to keep safety top of mind. Everybody knows safety first, right? So safety is something that we need to think about when it comes to our travel opportunities. So Almira, I actually pulled these links ahead of time. So I'm going to pop in something here. Something you should definitely be aware of is the travel advisories that the Canadian government has set out for us. So it's definitely something that you should check and see. Not only do they have things about COVID, but they have things about political unrest, all sorts of really great things that you can use to inform if you want to travel to these countries, which I think is really, really important that you do. And if you do choose to go there, the site will also share with how you can register yourself with the local embassy or consulate so that folks know that you are there in the event of some sort of, like, knock on wood, very rare evacuation. Then the consulate or embassy or high commission knows that you are there and they can support you as a Canadian citizen. So checking out those pieces is going to be very, very important for you. Um, on the same note of safety is that there is lots of really, really cool resources for females who are traveling solo. So if you are a single person, woman wanting to do some travel, and what does that look like? Organizations or agencies like Adventure Woman, they have all sorts of tips and tricks on how to travel safely as a woman all around the globe. So lots of really great tips and tricks in there, which is just a wonderful resource to have. While we're on the topic of safety, this is a little bit tangential, but you need to also be thinking about your insurance. So yes, you need insurance, or you don't need it, but you should have. It is wise to have insurance as you travel. There's lots of things that can come up that are outside of your control, whether it's lost baggage, whether it's an accident. There are so many different things that you just need to be aware of. So making sure that you have adequate travel insurance is going to be really, really important. And given that we still have this thing called COVID kicking around, make sure you are checking your insurance policies to see what they cover and what they don't cover. So in some cases, the travel policies will include, like they will, if you have to quarantine, let's say you're trying to fly out of a country and you test positive, some insurances will pay for your accommodations for the 2 weeks of isolation that you have to do. So making sure that you are checking and reading those policies so you understand what they will and will not cover will be really, really helpful. So I think that's kind of where I'm going to wrap up the safety stuff, because we've got lots of other things. And Sarah and Shannon, I see that question. I'll come back to it in a second. There are so many different ways to travel as well. So we can do group programs, which is really wonderful. So in the Expo, we have something that is, we have an organization called Kentucky. Kentucky orders tourism-based trips primarily, but it's wonderful because they are designed specifically for young people that are on adventures. And so you're not going to end up on a bus trip with a bunch of retirees or a bunch of newlyweds. Quite often they are designed specifically for young people to go as a single person or as a small group of friends to meet other people. So I myself traveled with them to Ireland. I met somebody from Japan, and when I traveled to Japan, I actually stayed at her house. So it's really, really geared towards that type of travel. Also in the Expo, you can check out something like Kaya Responsible Travel. So if you're interested in volunteering in another country, Kaya is a great place to do that. Or Animal Experience International, if you're interested in volunteering with animals, or Pacific Discovery. Like there's so many different organizations out there that would allow you to have that type of travel experience. Above and beyond that, there is the opportunity for solo travel as well. So you can either travel with a program or you can travel on your own. There is so much potential and so much variety in the ways that you can have your travel experience. So, okay, let's jump into some of these questions now. Sarah, when you say recommendations for travel, what are you specifically asking about? Are you asking about locations? Are you asking, if you can get a little bit more clarity there. So if you do lose your luggage in another country, what would you recommend that we do? Great question. So the first thing you're going to do is you have to report that your luggage has been lost, because they're not going to know. They don't really care if you have a toothbrush or not unless you tell them. So at the airport, if the luggage has been misplaced, then there is always some sort of desk in the baggage claim area where you can report it lost, and then check in with the airline, what their policies are surrounding the lost luggage. They're really, really great. They usually have a form for you to fill out. Where are you going to be staying? Because they can look into their system and say, oh, your bag actually got put on the wrong flight. It will be here tomorrow. Where can we deliver it to? Or we have no idea where your bag is. But our policy says you get $500 to go and replace any missing items. So you'll have to know what the policy is, and the folks at the desk will be able to answer that for you. And then depending on the situation, you may get some money in order to purchase the things that you need, or you can just wait for your baggage to be delivered to your location. So those would be the things that I would recommend, Sarah, if you did lose your baggage. So check in with the airline staff, let them know it's missing, and they can try and track it down for you, or they can provide compensation, which would allow you to go out and get a new mini wardrobe, which I think is pretty cool. So Sarah's saying she's never stepped out of Canada, and I've had very little travel in Canada. Any recommendations for the first place to travel in Canada or into the US? Perfect. Great question. Yeah. So if travel is new to you, what I like to think about it is in terms of baby steps, because we don't want to kind of pick you up and put you in a new environment with a new language that you've never spoken, far away from home, far away from mom, far away from anything that's comfortable. That is going to take you out of your comfort zone, push you through your challenge zone into a panic zone or into an overwhelm zone. And that's not a really great place to be. We want to get you to a place where we can get you into an environment that is like that, but in a place where that's going to just be challenging, not overwhelming. So take baby steps to get you to that place. So start with a small trip. Maybe you want to travel over the summer with your family somewhere, but you are responsible for all the interactions with the hotel and with the maybe the flight or the train or the bus or however you're getting around, so that you can get that experience, but you have that safety net of having your family there with you, but you are responsible for it. So it'll give you that practice and that confidence, because if anything is going to go wrong, then you have mom or dad or somebody you trust there with you. And then take your next baby step. Maybe do it with a friend, so there's not like a grown-up there. Make it just as a small trip. It could be a small road trip or a camping trip where you're going to have challenges and you have to overcome them and get confident that you can solve problems on the go. And then just take those baby steps. So maybe with your family, then with a friend, then head somewhere, maybe on your own, or even just travel. Maybe you've got grandma in, I don't know, Vancouver. Maybe you can go and travel alone to Vancouver, but still have somebody there. So making those small steps so you can build the skills and the confidence is what is going to get you there in a really, really great place. So if you've never traveled in Canada, where might you go? In Canada, it's pretty safe to go anywhere. I would say you're probably going to want to look for somewhere that has a good public transit system, unless you want to be renting a car. There's lots of places in Canada to visit, but often getting around can be challenging and or costly. So places like Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, they tend to be the ones that have the most infrastructure in place, which makes getting around a lot easier. So those would be some of the best first steps. But again, it's all up to you in terms of what you are interested in doing and how you want to travel. So within Canada, you can't really go wrong. There's lots of other really great places. And I would say the same thing for the US, depending on the type of experience you want. If you want that metropolitan hustle bustle, New York or LA have great opportunities. If you want more kind of relaxed southern, maybe Arizona, like there are just so many places. It'll all depend on the style. And this goes back to what I was saying in the first session. Goals are so important. What do you want to get out of this experience? And then you can start to figure out how can you make that happen. And the destination and the style of travel will then follow suit. So I think that that's really great. I also highly recommend traveling with an organization, like we just mentioned, a whole bunch of them, or you can find them in the expo when they do have these trips. It allows you to have that independence, but you also have support on the ground when you are there. This can be really beneficial because maybe going to a new country or going into a place that gets you out of your comfort zone and kind of on the edge of the overwhelm zone, you've got somebody there who is knowledgeable, and that gives you confidence, and it will also give your family at home confidence that if something were to go wrong, there is a backup system in place. So lots of great professionals out there that can support you in that travel journey. Everybody in the travel industry is super passionate about travel and are more than willing to help you and support you as you get your feet wet and start to see a little bit more of the world. So very excited for you, Sarah. What other questions do you have when it comes to travel? Pop them into the chat. And I always say that because I often need a sip of water. So what questions do you have about travel? I'm going to share some other resources that are super helpful. CAA is an incredible resource. They exist as an association to protect travelers. So they have so many different resources. They do everything from taking passport photos to, if you're doing a road trip, they will build you a triptych, which is a basically a map that will take you on your road trip and tell you about all the different things along the way, places to stop, things to see, where's the gas station. So it's really, really cool. They do travel insurance. They give you roadside assistance, I think is probably what they're best known for. Even with a CAA membership, you are covered even if you're on your bike and your bike breaks down. They will come and support you. So CAA is a really, really great resource to check out and to consider when you are looking at becoming a traveler or even just puttering around Canada. Again, a really, really great resource. So I think that is really helpful and something that I would highly recommend that you check out. Traveling is something that is so incredibly rewarding. It is something that is incredibly meaningful, and it is something that makes the memories that we carry with us for so, so long. And above and beyond that, it is something that teaches you so much about yourself, about other human beings, who you are, what the world is all about, and what is your place in the world. So while sometimes we look at that price tag and we see it as a large sum, because getting on a plane is not cheap. These are investments into your development. These are making core memories that are going to stay with you forever. I always think of from the animated movie Joy, with all of those core yellow memories. This is what travel is all about. And when it does come to investing in it, it is highly, highly encouraged that you do spend some of your gap year taking the opportunity to get out of your hometown, whether that is traveling down the road to the next closest city or traveling halfway around the world. Whatever your comfort level is, learning that independence and that agency and being able to problem solve on your own is really such a formative experience that will set you up for success no matter what your next steps are. So again, thank you so much for joining us. If you are interested in travel, head over to the Expo, check out a lot of the organizations are travel-based organizations that run phenomenal programs that will keep you safe. They will support you, and they travel to some incredible destinations. So highly, highly recommend that. Head over there. Coming up next, we have Working Gap Year. So if you are considering working working on your gap year, this is the place to be. So how do you let organizations know you're interested in the expo? Once you jump into their booth in the expo, over on the right-hand side, there's a little button. I can't remember what it says, if it says tell me more or contact me or something like that. If you click on that button, that will signal to the organization to reach out to you. You can always also just click on the link in there to their website, and they all have contact forms on there that you can get additional information. Learn more. Thank you, Elmira. So that button will really help you get in the right direction. So there you go. Thank you for joining me. And if you're interested, we'll see you back for your working gap year coming up next, followed by at 4:30, International Experience Canada for working abroad. Then 5 o'clock, our alumni panel, and 5:30, our parent session. So we'll see you in the next session in 4 minutes.